Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So, dear participants, I welcome you all to our third lecture as part of the entrepreneurship talk series organized by Department of Entrepreneurship and Management, IIT Hyderabad. So, today we have Kumudha Prince, who is a woman entrepreneur and is involved in multiple entrepreneurial activities. Um we'll be learning from her experience about how we gear up for an entrepreneurial, how any student or person can actually gear up for an entrepreneurial journey and get inspired from some of her experiences. So I would like to introduce her to all of you. She has an overall experience of 16 years in different various organizations, and has been an entrepreneurship has been in the back of her mind throughout. And recently, she has been involved in several ventures. So, the some of the organizations that she was associated is UBS, HSBC, SP Robotics, Microsoft, Amazon, and Bright. So she is the operational head and the entrepreneur in residence at Bright, which is an online edtech platform for life skills based curriculum. And she's also the director and center head of SP Robotics Makers Lab, which is an educational institute of latest technology. So she has a franchisee offering in this particular segment, and she's a co-chair of Women Entrepreneurship Development Cell of MSME and Startup Forum Bharath. And she has also been the owner of Super Kids Academy and Aryan Creations. And so this way she has been involved in multiple segments, and apart from that, she has also been a working woman and an entrepreneur. And she's the first generation working woman and entrepreneur in her family. So she takes pride in following this entrepreneurial journey, and from her experience, and we really look forward to have a lot of insights from Ms. Kumudha. The I know the platform is towards to you, and to share all your experience to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lohitaksh, and thank you, Mr. Ganesh, for offering this opportunity. It's wonderful to be in front of this lovely group. It's lovely to meet the future entrepreneurs, the future business owners. So thank you so much for that, and I'm quite excited about this. And as an entrepreneur, we always believe in creating value. So I really hope that the next 45 minutes to 60 minutes is of some value to you and to your journey ahead. All right. So let's get started. I think I can skip my introduction. I think Mr. Lohitaksh has pretty much covered my experience. I do have a good amount of experience both in the corporate world and in the business world. So feel free to stop me in case you have any questions. Do not consider this like a very, serious one-way talk. Instead, you can consider this like a five-side chat, and I'm open to have questions and have a casual and cool discussion. Probably one thing that I can say, which Mr. Lohitaksh has not covered, is one of my hobby is to make a lot of memes. So when I do find time, apart from all my crazy multiple hats that I carry, whenever I feel like I need to switch off, I do make memes about people. I'm pretty sure I can make one about this session and send it across to all of you to have some fun with it. So let's get started. I have put together a few slides. I will promise that it will not bore you with a lot of graphs and stuff. So just give me a second. Let me share it. Can one of you confirm that you're able to see my screen
Yes, we can see.
and you're able to see the slideshow that I'm presenting?
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you. So as you can see, this presentation is going to be about how you can gear up for your entrepreneurial journey. So let me start from here. Let me start with a question here, because I do want it to be, engaging, and I do want everybody to engage with what I'm going to say. So how many of you want to become, entrepreneurs, or how many of you have thought about, going into entrepreneurship as, full time? This is the stuff that I want to do. How many of you are sure about it? You can put it in the comments, or you can unmute yourself and speak up. Yuvateja says yes, that's wonderful. And Sarfraz and Harshini, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I hope the rest of the group also has high aspirations to create businesses going forward in the future. So let me so this is going to be the agenda of today. I have structured it in such a way so that it is in line with the typical journey of an entrepreneur, or a businessman or a woman. So first, we're going to make sure we eliminate all the other options so that we make informed decisions, and then we're going to move towards the preparation phase. What are the things that you're supposed to be doing? How do you prepare yourself? How do you prep yourself up for this great path? And then when it's the right time, how do you take the plunge? All right, so does that sound good? Yes, no, in comments? Cool. All right, moving on. So let's start with the eliminate process, right? What I mean by eliminate, right? Now, there are lots of options these days, and as you might be already aware, one of the option to arrive at the right decision is to opt for the elimination process. We keep eliminating all the wrong choices so that we finally arrive at the right process. And we're going to do a similar exercise right now, so that you put on your thinking hats and think a little bit. And given that I have a good amount of experience both in the corporate world and in the startup world, I thought I should start from there, because the one thing I've been seeing in the social media platforms is that the startup has become a very fancy term. Every day we open a social media page or a newspaper, there is always something about an IPO or unicorn, or somebody making crores of money, somebody have become a CEO very soon, and so on and so forth. And there is also entrepreneurs being treated or called as next freedom fighters who's going to save the nation, which all of it is true, right? All that is good. India is a very passionate country. We do everything with a lot of passion. However, we can't turn a blind eye to the glaring statistics that are you able to see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. There are also some glaring statistics, like 50% of the startups fail in the first year. So why do so many businesses fail? So I believe we can do so much better if we are driven both by logic and passion, not just make decisions out of passion. We need to make informed decisions, and which is why we are doing this quick elimination round of exercise. So let me quickly tell you about things that you can learn from the corporate world versus the startup world. Both of it has immense opportunities for learning. It purely depends on what you would like to learn. And this is not an attempt to promote corporate jobs at all. It is for you to get a visibility into what goes on into these two different worlds. Now in the corporate world, right, you get to work with the best minds. Let's take, for example, Amazon is one of the organizations that I have worked for. And in Amazon, all the levels can be divided in, can fit into just, between 1 and 7, the last level of employee to the CEO, 1 to 7. And any leadership position that joins at level 4 and above must go through a recruiting, a grueling type of recruiting process, right? And if I have to give you a little bit of insight, so Amazon has about 8 different leadership qualities, and each interviewer is given one leadership quality which is not disclosed to the person who is attending the interview. So let's say it is collaboration, right? So the interview is supposed to test the person's ability on collaboration only, right? And likewise, there are 8 rounds of interviews specifically testing their leadership capabilities apart from the technical or their subject matter expertise. Now when they get through such grueling rounds of interviews, obviously you're going to be, only a certain number of people are going to get past that barrier. So you do get to work with best minds in the corporate world, so let's not deny that. You also get to work with global stakeholders, like people from different cultures, people from different regions, not just cultural differences from a location perspective, right? There are cultural differences even from an organization perspective. You work in a company which is US based, their culture will be so different. So when I was working with UBS, we outsourced a lot of work to various vendors, and when I say vendors, these are organizations like Wipro and Cognizant and Infosys. Now, all of these centers, these delivery centers, are based in Hyderabad. However, and it is the same type of work that's been outsourced to all of them. But still, you can clearly see a cultural differences because because of the type of organization or the value the organization carry. So you get to learn all this. Now, how do you draw the parallel of this, and what do you take from here and put it in the startup world? So when you are choosing a vendor, you already have a framework in terms of what type of resource you need for what type of work that you want to outsource, or work that you want to get done, right? So these are some of the parallels that you can draw. When it comes to people skills, unlike the corporate world, here everybody is getting paid, whether somebody is a excellent performer versus somebody is an average performer. Everybody is getting paid whatever they were promised, right? So here, getting people to collaborate with you, you still need to collaborate to get things done in the corporate world. So even if you're not going to be sharing profits like in the startup world, or you're not going to be signing up deals like in the startup world, but still you have to get people to sign up with you for working with them in projects and so on and so forth. So your collaboration skills will be honed in setups like that. And the next thing is scale. So when I again in one of my experience in UBS, so one of the project that we worked on is, we had to deliver minimum standards for close to 50 delivery centers across the world, right? And this meant we had to train 50 leaders who are in the position of director and above, and this was one of the early stage project for me. So all the leadership positions were above me, but still, we had to design the minimum standards. We had to ensure that training was done. We had to ensure the documentation. And so when you do projects of that scale, so that learning is something that you can use in the startup world as well. When you scale up, when you go to, when you move towards scaling up things, when you have already dealt with such scale, that gives you a bit of a confidence that I've already done this, and and you have not put your own money in there while testing such huge scale projects. And last but not the least, I also want to talk about, entrepreneurship is also about your appetite for risk, how much of appetite that you can, and different people have different appetite levels for risk. Depending on that, you can also choose, you can park yourself in similar roles before you take the plunge into the larger roles. For example, I have done roles that are called chief of staff, which are very much in the corporate world, chief of staff, business manager roles, and the one that I'm doing right now is an entrepreneur in residence role. um, so these are the type of roles which offers very similar experience, because it keeps you very close to the decision making layer. You having authority to make decisions is a different thing, but you get to stay very close to the decision making layer, so you get pretty much all the learning that you require to prepare yourself for this entrepreneurial journey. Now these are some of the good things that you can learn from the corporate world. Now, like I said before, this is not to promote the corporate world, but in order for you to give some visibility into what happens on the other side. Now, what are the things that you can learn in the startup world which you cannot get from a corporate environment, right? When you start in a when you start working for a startup, you become or when you start up on your own, you become very resourceful, because you are crunched for time, you're crunched for resources, you're crunched for money, and you don't have like team that is helping you with getting stuff done, and so on and so forth. You are the person who will be identifying what the need is, and you will be identifying how to fix that need as well. So you become very resourceful. You identify all the tools that are available in the market, what are the free tools that are available, and so on and so forth. So this gives you that confidence to manage, even when COVID hit, or even when layoffs happen. If you have been on your own and made money on your own, you are absolutely confident that you can get through anything, right? Things like that doesn't phase you anymore, right? And the next thing that you learn in the startup world is you make very quick decisions. Now let's take, for example, in my SP Robotics company, when it's a very small team. So when some of my critical resources leave, right, I don't have too much time to think about the transition period, and the documentation process, and this and that, and things that can happen in the corporate. Well, I don't have so much leverage, right? I need to get somebody fast, I need to move fast, and within 2 weeks, I kind of had to fill all my critical resources. So that's how you need to move fast, and you will learn how to make those fast decisions when you're in the startup world. Moving on to the next point, which is frugality. You become very frugal, right? So when COVID hit, it was the time I had just a month back, I had put down my papers, and I thought I wanted to try entrepreneurship completely, and give it my 100%, and not just 50-50%. So it was a decision that your system or people around you start to question, did you do the right thing, why would you do this? It was a big risk, you made a wrong decision, and you get to hear all of that, right? But however, right, you made the decision, we make the decision because I wanted to give it my 100% only for my own company. And I took the COVID thing as a challenge. And yeah, so there's no looking back at the decision, or there is no regrets. Now, of course, now you're crunched for money, so how do you how do you become frugal with whatever you're going to do next, right? So the real estate cost is one of my biggest expense, right? So I had come up with different ways in which the place will be utilized. I had converted very quickly. I had converted into a, work from home center, and a place where people could just come and do their office work, and I charge a nominal fee, and through that I was able to retain my space, and as well as I didn't have to rely on the core business to be able to meet the expenses of. So these are the ways in which you start thinking, when you're in a startup world. In a corporate world, you probably, you probably would not worry, whether my office is still working, and so on and so forth, right?
Sorry,
Moving on to, yes.
sorry, Kumida. Yeah, we have a raised hand from Harshini. If you would like to. Uh,
Sure, Harshini, please go ahead.
Hello, is Harshini around?
So I think
Harshini, you're
probably you
on
should
mute.
have raised
Sorry,
earlier.
sorry. For the
Okay,
first question, I raised my hand. Sorry.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
shall I continue?
Yes, yes.
Cool. And do let me know, because I'm not able to see both my presentation and as well as the Google Meet screen. So do let me know in case, any activities is happening in the Google Meet screen.
Sure, yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Moving on to innovation, right? Like I said before, when COVID hit, I had to quickly, move from the offline model, because it's a robotic center where children come to learn things, where it is more about practical learning, where kids come to put together things on their own and stuff like that. I had to quickly think about how to still keep my business running, in spite the nature of the business is very offline oriented, right? So I put together something called virtual robotics. And I made the curriculum very fast. I hired people very fast. Even before the lockdown announcement was made, I had everything set and ready. So as soon as the lockdown announcement is there, I have 3 to 4 different products which I can just open out to the world. So it's how they say, right? Necessity is the mother of invention. So in the startup world, innovation is not an option. Innovation is a necessity. So you will have to, you will be pushed to innovate. Otherwise, somebody is going to kill you. Either a situation like COVID is going to kill you, or your competitors are waiting to kill you. So you have to innovate, right? And the last but not least is living on the edge experience. And I think this is something that everybody can quickly relate to, right? Now, here, of course, it also means, some days I'm not sure whether I'm going to meet the financial needs of my family, but right. And some days I'm so elated that I made a lot of money, and some days it's about, today it's about me getting to talk to wonderful people like you. So so it is a wonderful journey. And every day there is a different challenge. So a person who, and I have always been that person. I do want that thrill of the game, and that is something that you would get in the startup world more as against the corporate world. So I'll move on to the next slide now. Some of the points that why people go for entrepreneurship, or at least what I see from social media is that people do think that you can make a lot of money, you can get rich quick. But true, very true. But it is also true that you can lose a lot of money very, very quickly if you don't know the game. You are also going to lose a lot of money. There are a lot of other franchisees who started at a very similar timeline as me, and not even 50% of those organizations are live today. They had to pull off because it was not financially viable for them to keep up. So I've known certain centers that have lost close to 30 lakhs within just a span of 6 months. Right, so it is true that you can get rich quick, but it's also true that you can lose a lot of money, right? Fancy titles, I can become the CEO tomorrow, if I start the business, and I can be my own boss. I have a lot of freedom. I can work only when I want to. So these are some of the very famous opinions that I keep seeing. But the other side of it is also true, right? You also, yes, I am the CEO of my company, but I'm also a janitor. I'm also technical support. I'm also the telecaller. When things demand, you do have to wear multiple hats. You do have to do wear multiple shoes, and you have to when you are starting on your own, you're going to be crunched for resources, and you will be doing all these things on your own as well. Right, and the no boss thing, yes, you don't have one person you report into, but you do have multiple people that you're accountable for: your employees, the vendors, your suppliers, the customers. Anybody can question you now, not just your boss, right? And freedom, yes, you can work whenever you want, but it doesn't work like that. The business literally owns you. So you will have to, in order for you to make your business sustainable, you have to let business own you for at least until it moves to a stabilizing phase. So that's what it takes. And why not? Some people say, just why not, I just like it, so why not? So that's like asking, do you want to get married? Yeah, why not? It's like saying yes to something even without knowing what it means, right? So these are the things that you should not, if you are interested in entrepreneurship, whoever said yes to entrepreneurship and whoever has not said anything but thinking about entrepreneurship, these are not the reasons why you should get into entrepreneurship. Why you should get into entrepreneurship: you love the thrill of the game. You every day you want to face new challenges. Every day you want to be learning something new. You do have the risk appetite. I might be it might not be a steady path, but if I make it big, I'm going to make it really big, and that is the risk that I'm willing to take. So you should have the appetite for risk, right? And find joy in creating value. That is something that I have always associated myself. I have always uh, identified myself with, right? So any entrepreneur, you have to believe in creating value and delivering value, and hope that somebody is going to pay you for creating that value, right? I have sold t-shirts. I have sold jewelries. I have been a reseller, and now I am designing and developing a curriculum, which I'm trying to make parents see the value of. Right, so you should always find the joy in creating value and not just the materialistic things, because the your motivation will get pushed to the limits, and any other materialistic goal that you have in mind is going to be thrown out of the window very, very soon. So you will keep questioning yourself every day, that what is it that is still keeping me in this journey, and it will be this point that you are creating value for people, and value for the society or community. That is what will keep you going, right? And the other thing, hustler, I have always had multiple hats. I've always been into multiple things at the same time. So, and if you enjoy hustling, handling rejections. So in Bond Right, recently we did a summer camp. So when we rolled out free registrations, close to 3,000 people registered, right? And we delivered free sessions for all the 3,000 people, right? However, when we turned that into a paid membership, right? When we ask people to enroll for our paid courses, which are slightly longer in nature, right, we got the conversion ratio of only 5%. So only 150 students enrolled into the paid, so these numbers, we can still, these are still good numbers that can be shown to the investors. But from a sustainability angle for an organization, these are actually not great numbers. And we have to, as a company, as an organization, we should be willing to look at why so many rejections are happening, and should be able to quickly, logically analyze these rejections. Are they in the market standard? Is it any different? And what is it that we can do about it, and so on and so forth, right? And last but not least, it is a very, humbling experience. Being a business person is a very humbling experience, unlike, the corporate world. So you don't have people, at least until you really really, make it big. Now, people are looking at Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk as some superheroes, right? But that's not going to happen from day one, right? So you, and you need to have that humility, only with which you will reach, that stage. So you should also have, that factor of humbleness in your entrepreneurial journey. All right, let me just take a quick sip of water, and I'm open to take any questions if there are any. Okay, I can see Yuva has posted a question. Just give me a second. Let me read it. Yeah, so I can see Yuva has asked this question. How are you making sure the children are prepared fully for the needs of coming new century? What are your thoughts on your current education system? Very good question. Thank you so much for asking. See, the children are children, okay? They are very intuitive, right? They are very open. It is the education sector is one tricky place where the consumer, the buyer and the consumer is different, right? So it is not the children that I have to convince, at least initially, or at least until I have a market share. It is the parents that I need to convince, right? And I think that's where the challenge is currently. However, even the parents of this generation are realizing that there is a gap. There is obviously a gap between what you keep learning over the years versus what you get to do in the real world, right? So, and that is the gap that we are trying to fill. So if you look at our courses, like one of the courses that we have is on communication foundation, right? So there we don't focus on what the schools teach them about grammar, or sentence formation, or things like that. We focus on the practical elements of if you are talking to an elderly person, then how do you communicate? You communicate with passion, right? If you're talking, you're introducing yourself in front of your school, your new school members, right? Now how do you introduce yourself with confidence, right? Now these are some of things that are required in the real world, which is not getting taught in the schools, right? And that is where my role comes in. I have to make sure the curriculum is very much aligned with the real world needs, as against what is being traditionally taught. So far I think we've done a good job. However, like I said, the challenge here is when we have to compete with the academic related areas, like the parents are while they do identify there is a gap between the education system and the real world, when they are faced with a situation where they have to choose between putting them in a educational institute where they are preparing them for the competitive exams, they still are a bit hesitant about taking them off that competitive exam thing, because they're still worried for their kids and they do want them to do well, and so on and so forth. So we are trying to make sure the curriculum is of very high quality, is of practical learning, prepares them for the real world, but at the same time we are trying to keep it as less expensive as possible, so that it reaches everyone. So all of our courses are currently priced at 3,500 rupees. So and we are trying to bring it down further by venturing out into different business models. So if we venture out into B2B business model, we'll probably be able to bring it down further. We are also looking at the experience side of things, right? Currently it is a one-way delivery. We believe in designing a session where the kids get to interact. The kids kind of takes the lead, right? We just give the nudge. All our faculties are told that if it's not your responsibility to deliver information, it's your responsibility to ensure that the kid is driving these conversations. All right, so these are some of the aspects that we are doing in the organization to be able to do this. I hope that answers your question, Yuva.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. Is entrepreneur means just to selling things, giving various services, dealing with people, profit and loss, and come up with new idea and solution, right? I'm not sure if Om was there since the beginning. The primary thing of an entrepreneur is to create value, right? Create of something of value, which you may eventually sell, which people might see value in, and they will pay you for, and so on. But an entrepreneur's business is to create value. It could be a service, it could be a product, but it has to be useful for somebody. It has to solve somebody's problem, and you should find joy in being able to do that, right? And entrepreneurs are in different sizes and shapes. You could be an entrepreneur who wants to create a product for millions and millions of people, or you could be just a small scale business owner who wants to make pickles and just want to sell 100 jars per month, and you're happy with that. So it really it purely depends upon the value that you're creating. Does that answer your question, Om?
Yes.
Cool. Should I move on to the... I hope you're able to see my slide. So next we are moving on to the preparation phase. How do you prepare yourself, right? So before I move on to the so before I move on to talking about the details of how you can prepare yourself, right, I would like for you to be very open with how your path might look like, right? Everybody, whatever you see in social media is only 10%, 20% of reality that you see. There are a lot of nitty-gritties and hardships and processes that you go through, right? And it doesn't have to be like anybody else's journey. Just trust, do your homework. I'm not saying don't do your homework. You should do your homework. You should research. You should understand all the possibilities that are out there, but make your own path, don't copy anyone. You don't have to copy anyone. Like Mark, he became an entrepreneur at 19 years, whereas Mr. Sanders, who's from the KFC, he became a successful entrepreneur at 65. So and I'm sure you've heard this example tons of times, but the point is this: don't be strict with the route. Be strict with your destination, yes, but don't be strict with the route. Right? Be flexible, be open. Times are changing, the demands are changing, so you might have to be a little bit flexible to be able to keep making progress. Now, this is one thing that I would being a learner, right, this is one thing that I would highlight if someone wants to be an entrepreneur for life, right? By the way, before I move on, can you guys identify what is the picture that I have kept in the slide?
Printer.
Typewriter.
Printer. Okay.
Good.
Typewriter.
Typewriter.
Okay. Om said printer. Mr. Raghav said typewriter, right? Yes, it is a typewriter. And how many of you have operated this typewriter? How many of you have seen this typewriter in real life? Okay, Om has. One more person also says. That's wonderful, because I thought you guys wouldn't have seen. And now, how many of you know how to use a typewriter, or you have operated a typewriter in real life? So I guess that's a no. See, I'm still the oldest person in the group. So let me tell you something, all right? So this is a couple of decades ago, my dad. So Raghav says yes. So is that a yes to you have operated the typewriter?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. So maybe I'm not that old. Thank you. So couple of decades ago, my dad felt he has to prepare me for this world, so he let me learn different skills, and for some reason he thought I should learn typewriting. So every day I used to go to this typewriting class. For 3 months I went to this typewriting class, and after 3 months there is a test that happens. Okay, so they book a huge venue, and all these institutes, typewriting coaching institutes, will bring their typewriters, and they will ask all their students to come in and ask them to take a test. And so the test is very short, right? You just have to type a few lines basically. So, and it's the setup that takes a lot of time. So once it is all said and they say go, and then the whole venue is just going right. So I did all that, right, and I successfully failed, right. The point is, so what my dad thought was relevant or useful 20 years ago is not useful now. Now what is useful is an artificial intelligence, or learning how to be on your own, or how to become an entrepreneur, and the blockchain, or learning about cryptocurrency, and these are the latest technologies. And if I don't upgrade myself, I will be thrown out of this working world very soon, right? So learning is not a one time thing. Your real learning starts when you step into the a real working world. So you have to keep learning, and you have to make a conscious effort to keep learning. So even today I mark an hour of my day for learning, so that apart from my regular work, that I still look for some information that I'm that I want clarity on, that I'm learn something new. I recently did a course on artificial intelligence powered marketing from IIM Calcutta. right? So you have to constantly keep upgrading, not just as a one-time effort, but it has to be part of your lifestyle, right? And as much as learning is important, as you progress along, it is also important that you also unlearn things. Now what I mean by that is, the method or approach in which you were managing people 10 years ago, right, where they were, people wanted more incentives, people wanted more facilities, or people wanted more benefits, like insurance and vacation pays and so on and so forth, right? This was the trend, right? But now that is not good enough, right? Now the younger generation wants more freedom. They want the ability to make decisions on their own, to be able to own a project, a piece of project that they can call it their own. Those are the things that drives them, as against incentive is good too, but that itself is not good enough to retain your the best talent. So if I don't unlearn the old methods, and if I stick to the old methods, and if I don't keep reinventing myself, and if I don't adapt to the newer methods, I'm going to be out of the business very soon. So as much as learning is important, unlearning is very important too, right? And there are different types of knowledge. So when you are in the startup world, the type of learning that you have is kind of very broad, right? I have to know about marketing. I have to know about operations. I have to know about sales. I have to know about product development. While I might not be the subject a matter expert in all of these, but I should know what are the aspects that I should look for. If I have to hire a person for the product development role, then who is the right person? I should know to that extent what does that entail, right? So in startup world, now these are you go the broad knowledge that you carry, it's kind of you kind of cuts across multiple sections, right? Whereas in a corporate sector, even when I was working in a corporate sector, every 2 years I shifted my teams, right? Which doesn't look very good for a corporate typey resume. But my longest stint was in UBS, which was for close to 8 years. And even there I changed my role. My role was changed every 2 years. Every 2 years I moved from vendor management to handling governance and risk, to learning about sourcing, to and then learning about training and development. So I do have exposed myself to a lot of areas through which I was able to gather a lot of knowledge. So there is this horizontal knowledge that cuts across multiple verticals, and there is also this the deep learning, which goes you gain expertise in one particular area, and in a startup you kind of it's more that broad type of knowledge that you keep developing, right? And when it comes to technical and industry specific knowledge, right? Just give me 1 second. Yeah, so it is important for you to gain both technical knowledge, and as well as non-technical knowledge, right? Technical knowledge would mean you become a subject matter expertise in one area, right? It could be operations, or it could be marketing, where you develop the deep knowledge in that one particular vertical. Whereas non-technical things are things like resilience, or decision making, or negotiation, or strategy, which I think are the ones which really gets pushed when you are in an entrepreneurial journey. These are the things that gets really pushed. Technical knowledge, yes, it is good, because we do need innovative products, and we do need that knowledge. Just give me a second. Let me just have a sip of water. Yeah, so Bhaskar has asked a very valid question which lingers in everybody's minds. If you can just be patient for a couple of more slides, I am getting there. So if you can be patient for a couple of more slides, I promise that I will answer your question. Okay, Bhaskar. So
Yes, yes, please.
cool. So the non-technical skills are the ones that really gets pushed, like I said. Right now let me quote an example of my dad. He is a business owner, is a small scale business owner, and I have seen his journey, and there were days where he has gone out to work with just 20 rupees in his pocket, and there were days where we had to move from our own house to a rented house because there were some bad decisions made. And as we speak, my dad just met with an accident a few days ago, and he's injured his leg, and because of that he has fracture. But luckily he is doing well. He's discharged from the hospital. He's at home. But even in the hospital, right, he was signing checks so that the employees get salary on time, right? And that is the amount of commitment and resilience that you will be required if you are if you want to be in the entrepreneurship. Not to scare you, it just what I'm trying to say is, what is being shown on the social media, that there's all this fancy and the luxurious things about entrepreneurship, but these are some real real life challenges also that you must be aware of. And that is the amount of soft skills that will get tested in the entrepreneurial journey, right? And keep learning about the latest trends. I think I've covered this before as well. So do focus on gaining knowledge, and become a learner for life, and that is going to be very useful for your entrepreneurial journey. Cool. Moving on. So this is one thing that I wish somebody had told me well in advance, because nowadays it's not just about how much knowledge you have, it is also about who you know. Right, and now what I mean by that is not just baselessly connecting with people, or just gathering up followers and fans in your social media pages. It could be individuals or organizations. Then now these are the type of people or the roles that you will require in your life, no matter what, right? A mentor or a role model, peer, promoter, cross industry connections. uh, these are the certain type of roles that will be needed for you. um, like I said, my dad is a role model for me, and because he is part of the family, it's easier for me to relate to things. When it happens to me, I'm able to get some inspiration out of it, and so on and so forth. Now, not everybody might have close people in the family. So ask for help. Do reach out to people. Do get It could be an individual or an organization. There are so many groups nowadays. There are a lot of organizations that are forming, entrepreneurship cells. Be a part of that community and contribute back, to the community, right? I also sense, a little bit of entitlement when young people then come forward and, ask for time. You will have to understand that even though we are slightly ahead in the game, we are we still have our own careers to manage. So whatever, the time that I am trading, right, the 2 hours that I am spending on your career, right, is the time that I have traded for, as against my own growth, right? I mean, as bluntly put, right, because now kids are very assertive, right? The students, this generation, very assertive. They are able to ask for whatever they want. But all I'm saying is, be compassionate in the way you ask, and be compassionate in the way you pay it forward. Make sure, it doesn't have to be the same person, but make sure, you're helping out your juniors, and you make sure you're contributing back to the community in some way, so that we all work towards with a collective knowledge, right? And like I said, you have a role model like my mom. When I was struggling the first 6 months, when I started the company, so my mom, who is just a ninth standard pass, she is from a village and she doesn't know to speak English, but she said something which has remained with me and which had kept me going. So she said, a new company is like a newborn baby, right? It requires all the attention and all the love that you can give, right? And so this is, the mom, the wife of a successful, business owner, talking, right? So um, it is good to have, somebody who can understand what you're going through. But even if you don't have immediate, people in your immediate network, for you can always, form networks, right? So I have put my LinkedIn profile in there. Make sure you form connections. LinkedIn is a great place to form, professional quality relationships that are useful for your future. So please do use that. Peer connections, again, right? When COVID hit, immediately I worked with one of my school friends. She also has a similar educational institute. Usually we don't share the lead information with each other, but COVID was an exception. At that case, both of us, we shared the leads and we shared the curriculums, etc., so that we can keep the momentum going, so that people have more content to consume, and so that we don't lose out on the lead. So it was possible for us to work together, that partnership, because it was a mutually beneficial and a trustable relationship, right? So when you are networking, do network with an intention that there is going to be a give and take, right? And not just uh, mechanically, just to increase your network, because it simply doesn't work in the long run, right? And look for promoters. There are always people, even today there are people who act like my promoters. No matter what I do, they are the first people to give an applause, which makes you feel good about what you are doing. So when I was working in UBS, and I was an executive assistant at some point, and I was reporting into an MD. He was managing, he was the head of offshoring and outsourcing, the global head of offshoring and outsourcing. So there was a meeting in which I was a part of, and there was talks about how the risk management could be done for vendors. So I an idea came to my mind, and I just scribbled something on my notepad with just some sketch and some arrows and just a rough sketch, and I shared it with him on I think I didn't even send an email. I think it was just on WhatsApp. I think, what do you think about this idea? Right. And he immediately forwarded that to a bunch of people who were MDs and GMDs. Now GMDs are people who are even sitting in the board group. And I say board is the board of 65,000 people, right? And multiple MDs report into GMD. So so when you have promoters, it might financially it means nothing, but it's a simple act. It was not done in a podium, or it was not, I was not given an award, but that simple act of recognition, that your ideas are worth it. People like that, you have to be grateful for what they do, and you have to make a note of these instances whenever you lose confidence in what you're doing. These things, and your strong network is going to help you, and you never know what type of deal is going to come through what type of person. So don't just network with the similar department, similar industry. Do feel free to connect with, as long as you strike a chord, do connect with accumulate a cross industry type of a network. All right. Cool. So I think it was Om who was Bhaskar. I think Bhaskar was asking about everyone talks about getting started and all, and keep faith in ourselves, but how do we know when to quit or to stop, particularly when we are attached to the idea we want to keep going irrespective of the odds? So there is no thumb rule, but still, what are the usual signs that reflects it? It is the moment to stop. Right. Okay. I think we're not there yet. I think we're still a couple of slides away, so I'm going to park that still. So when you are, starting out, right? When you have the idea to start, just start somewhere. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't you need not pull together resources. You not pull together investors and invest so much, and just take the first step, and that itself will give you a lot of drive. So when I decided to start and start doing things on my own, just one fine day I decided every day I'm going to do 2 hours, I'm going to do something about this very religiously. I would just take my bike and just wander around the roads to do, because it was an offline center, I had to make sure it was correctly positioned, geographically it is positioned right, and so on and so forth. So I would just randomly go do survey, talk to people, talk to the nearby areas and stuff like that, and then spend time in the internet, doing research and so on and so forth. Start somewhere, and it will give you a lot of energy to keep moving forward, right? And then be realistic, and when I say be realistic, do your homework, do research. What is the product that you're proposing? Are there similar products? How is your product different? Right? Create an MVP, do a prototype, test it, create focus groups, do some surveys, make sure what is the what are the market standards. Make sure you have a no nonsense business plan, right? Determine your business model. Please do all of these and be realistic, right? Now, having said that, be unrealistic when it comes to your goals, and aiming high and dreaming big, right? Make sure you aim for 10 times more than what you would really like. I think that is something that if all Indians do, and when we combine it with that passion and the logic, I'm pretty sure we can all be really successful and happy, right? And the last point is make sure you're partnering up with the right people. You're going to go into this with a lot of enthusiasm and lot of energy. So make sure you're working with the right people. Like the current team that I'm part of, even though there are a lot of challenges, there are knives hanging over our heads about our survival and so on and so forth. I love to go to work every day, because when we are working towards managing a challenge, we are talking the same language, we are working towards the same vision. We're all in the same state of flow. It's total bliss when you pick the right people to work with. So partner with the right people and just do it, right? And so when you do start, you will realize that you'll never be prepared enough, right? I used to be part of a lot of show lot of webinars. I used to attend courses, and I read a lot, and I researched a lot, and so on and so forth. But still, when I started day one, I immediately realized there's still so much to learn. So be humble, do be aware that you're not going to be prepared enough. When the day you are starting, there will still be some preparation left. There will still be some gaps that you will have to take it as you go, because entrepreneurship is a game of practice, right? The next thing is identify your weakest link before you start, right? Because this is something that you will get tested when you're like, for example, in my case, health wise, I had back issues, and that was not something that I was consciously making an effort to fix, right? So when my business demanded more of my time, the weakest point of my weakest part of my life, right now, when that start giving you trouble, that starts impacting the way in how the efficiently how you run the business and so on and so forth. Let's draw a parallel example from a skill perspective. Right now, I learned most of the skills as much as possible, but sales is not something that I directly did in my corporate experience. So that was my weakest link, and to keep refining that part of my business, it took me a while, right? So you have to identify the weakest link, because at times the strength of the chain is as good as your weakest link. So make sure you have a backup plan. Now there could be other examples, right? You have a financial restriction, right? Or you have you have a loan that you have to fix, or your family is asking for your time, right? If you don't have solutions to the already existing weak links, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, because entrepreneurship is going to take a lot of your time and energy. At least in the initial phase, it is going to demand a lot of you. So you make sure you fix all the weakest links before you take the plunge, right? Keep it cool. Make sure while you are moving fast, when you are um, make sure you do meditation, breathe, and just relax. I know the game is of nature, where you have to be on the edge at all times, but that's not how you win things. You always perform better when you don't have pressure. So when like I said, when I quit my job in February, and I wanted to focus, and immediately COVID hit, I it just took it 2 to 3 days. It was a little difficult for me to absorb that reality, but I had to calm myself down and keep it cool, and focus on the business, and I decided, no matter what, I'm going to keep moving forward, right? So keeping it cool will help you make better decisions, right? The two key ingredients that is required for all the entrepreneurs is, One is your discipline, and the other is motivation. Most of the businesses fail. Of course, there are other various other reasons, right? You don't have funding, and there is no things that are moving as fast as you want it to be, and so on and so forth. But these are the two things that, from a soft skill perspective, your discipline and your motivation will get tested day in and day out, and that is something that's going to influence how your team views your association, and the team views the energy as well. So it is very, very critical for you to stay disciplined and motivated. And how soon can you get up when you're faced with a rejection or a failure, right? Now when my first round of the people who left, it took me a while for me to gather up things. But when it was the second time when it happened, this time I knew what I had to do. So there was this one incident where one of my very, very good resources walked up to me and said, I have this competitive exam which I have been preparing, and I want to give it a best shot, and this is not working out, and so on and so forth. I was, of course, I'm so emotionally invested in that resource. But at the same time, I realized I have to deal with it pretty quick and not look at it emotionally. So I just went down, had some chai, and within 5 minutes I came back and I presented a very logical proposal, that I will get an intern, and I will give him some amount of hours away from the work, which through during which time he can propose. And because of that logical proposal, I was able to retain that critical resource for next few months, which gave me a big window for me to make sure I have the right people in place for the right things, right? So how soon can you get up is going to matter, is going to get tested, right? And trust the process, right? As much as Jeff Bezos made Amazon, it is also true the other way around, right? Amazon made Jeff as well. The decisions he made and the things that the company demanded, he kind of grew along with the process. So trust yourself, and kind of trust the process. I know I'm moving a bit fast because I'm very much over the time of an hour, right? um, and the last but not least, the real destination is to realize that there is no destination. You make profit, okay, fine, what next, right? You sold millions of copies of your product, yes, what next, right? It is so for me, for me, this is all I want to do, right, for the rest of my life. And I will keep moving in that direction because it makes me happy, it keeps me alive. Otherwise I'm just a depressed person. uh, this job or this role as an entrepreneur kind of keeps me alive. So for me, there is no end goal. Of course everybody has goals that they want to attain. These are the goals. But of course, for example, in this company I make such and such profit, and I might decide to close shop, but that is not the end destination, right? I am going to keep thinking about what is next, because it's, for me, it's the journey that counts, right? Or I might decide take a couple of years break for me to figure out some hobby, but still I might eventually, when I want to work, when I want to and nothing is bigger than your life, right? And this is something that I do want. And you need that humbleness to be able to become successful, right? You should be disciplined about your journey, yes. You should give it all to whatever that you are creating, yes. But you have to make the right choices as well, because there is no point making your the quality of where to get to a point where the quality of your life is um, so bad that you start to become a bitter person, or start to um, regret the journey, right? So you have to take breaks until you feel healthy and balanced again to be able to continue on with the journey. So I hope that also answers Mr. Bhaskar's question, right? When will somebody know when to quit? So that's a question. When to quit what, right? I will ask you the question: to quit what? To quit the company that you are running, or to close a shop. That is purely a logical decision, right? That is I have made business plans. I know when I'm supposed to break even. I know when I'm supposed to make profits. I know whether I do have enough runway for the next 6 months or 1 year. And I know whether I have the motivation and energy to be able to do it. If I don't, then can I hire people to be able to run? These are, you look at it logically and stick with it. Yes, it is very much possible for you to get attached to an idea, but ideas, uh, they all have shelf life as well, right? If what can you do if the market is not ready for your idea yet? What can you do if the market is not willing to pay for your idea yet, right? So you have to accept. You can take your time to come to grips with that, but I think you have to take that hard decision, and which is a part of the entrepreneurship journey as well. And I'm pretty sure you can come up with kick-ass product or an idea that beats the hell out of the previous idea that you had, as long as you're able to look at it logically and accept that it is what it is. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Bhaskar.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. Thank you.
Cool. There's one more question that you have asked. My question is concerned for grabbing first few customers, particularly in education. So when we think that our platform and content is good, we struggle to find positive. Believe others will follow if our content platform is good. But how to effectively invite, engage first batch customers? Yeah. So it is. See, now the edtech is in a hot place, right? Everybody wants to teach kids. Microsoft is coming up with tools which through which kids can be taught, right? And everybody wants to teach kids, and that's the reality. So you should like I said, you should really dig deep as to what is the problem that you're fixing for the education sector here, right? There are still multiple problems. There are actually people are not attempting to fix, right? Like the whole personalized learning experience that I want, right? Like me, um, at different stages my learning requirements have been different, right? And it is all left to me to go and identify and get it and all of that. Whereas this is where the educational startups can do a good job in terms of combining artificial intelligence, making sure you are anyways going to be tracking my data. You might as well track my behavioral pattern of my learning to be able to and overlay it with what are the different career graphs that I could, or the career paths that I will go, and these are the learning requirements that I may need, bring in some combine artificial intelligence, and then overlaying it with some data might be able to fix some real problems, right? So and the first set of customers should believe in what you believe in, right? If you think that personalized learning is a gap, right? So you have to identify those type of people. You have to do your customer persona. Like you have gotten that thought, right? Like you, there are other people who will have the same thought. No, you have to identify where those people are. You have to define how your customer looks like. Where do they go? What's the type of content that they are accessing? What are the social media platforms they are on? And try to reach out to them and try to get. And I think if you do that, you will be able to get your first set of audiences through which you can get some feedback, and and keep refining until you reach a polished product which absolutely meets their requirement, and it gives justice to your idea as well. How to decide how much percentage for your co-founder? Should it be fixed or open to change over time? It is purely an open thing. There is no fixed model as such, Raghav. So some co-founders invest, some co-founders take salary also, some co-founders don't take salary for a certain amount of time. So there are a lot of different type of engagements in the real world currently.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
What motivated you to take up idea? It reached a point, I always, so like I said, I've been doing a lot of things. While I had my corporate job on one side, I always had side gigs. I've sold jewelry, like I said. I've sold t-shirts. I've done summer camps, and this was when I was on my maternity leave and when I was on my break to take care of my son, and so on and so forth, right? So I always wanted to do it, was always in me. But it reached a point where, and at the same time, I have my responsibility towards my family as well, to make sure they are in a decent place financially, so before I take on a risk. So it reached a point where all this noise in my head wouldn't stop. They just you literally have to do something, otherwise I'm just going to explode. So it reached a point where I literally had to do something to stop this constant nagging in my head, that I had to do something on my own, that I had to do something on my own. I was willing to take all the risk that that comes with I had to quieten that noise in my head. So that is what I would say motivated me. So it all starts from self. I hope that answers
Yeah.
you, Harshini. Hiring is hard part. People join, but many times they leave very soon. How to deal with it? Yes, especially in the startup world, it is a very, very tough thing. It is very tough to attract, a top talent, because when you have huge multinational companies that are ready to offer big packages, and you're not in so much, in a position. So these are the things, and it is still a difficult task. And like I said, the way you incentivize them, right? Um, people are now the younger generation is willing to take some level of pay cut also, if they are shown the promise that this idea is good, and they have, you show them the path of growth, right? If when the organization grows, that you are also able to grow along with the organization. So these are some of the, so it's a a type of a mindset, right? And you have to look for those people who have that mindset, who's willing to take that risk, who are willing to kind of travel along with you, right? And it is tough, and no matter what you do, there will be some people who will still leave you. So that's where your logical side should start, should kickstart, and you have to have backup plans in place. You have to look for tools that automates things as much as possible. You need to define processes that doesn't have too many dependencies with your critical resources. It is tough. It is still a a tough challenge, and there is no easy answer to that. But I think these are some of the ways in which you can kind of mitigate mitigate the issue.
Okay,
What
thank
are
you,
some
ma'am.
of your, thank you. What are some of my daily habits? I I have a cup of. I don't drink coffee or tea. Um, so alternatively, I have like a jug, almost a half a jug of water with lemon drops and ginger and honey. I do make it a point to read at least like a couple of pages, and like I said, I have marked it in my calendar to um, dedicated 1 hour for learning, where apart from all the reports and tasks that I have to do, I still take that 1 hour away just for my own satisfaction that I learned something today. And uh, yoga and meditation, yes, although I wouldn't take complete credit for it, because I do have given a bit of a gap the last few days, but I would highly recommend to every one of you that you do have one physical exercise that makes it. Could be yoga, it could be a gym, it could be anything, but make sure you are equally strengthening all areas of your life, right? Not just the financial aspect, but your mind, making sure you're working up the muscles, both for your mind and as well as your body. So I probably will take this opportunity and promise you that I will resume my yoga and meditation, and I will report back to you guys with a proper disciplined schedule. Cool. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have. If is there any more questions?
Yeah, I see some more. I missed the
Yeah.
start of the talk. Would it be possible to summarize the idea of Aryan creation? Aryan creations is my handmade jewelry, which I used to make silk thread based handmade jewelry, and I used to sell them. And like I said, it was a side gig, and I did it for a few years. And at some point, I you know uh, got bored with not because I didn't like the product, just I wanted to learn more. I want to do more than jewelry. So I did it for a few years, and I really loved the process of creating something and delivering, putting something out there. And so that's the story of Aryan creation.
Thank you.
You like spending time with books? Yes, I totally do. Although now now I'm also a victim of YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that. So I do have certain groups that I keenly follow. I highly recommend some of the talks by Guy Kawasaki. He is absolutely, relatable. He's the type of entrepreneur, that I want to become very down to earth, and you can still very, he has a bit of a wit and humor, and um, so I would recommend, so learning can come not only from the books, but it can come from the format. Of course, has changed the way in which you're consuming information, but as long as you're disciplined about what type of information that you're consuming, I think it's all right. Yes, I do spend time with books. I still have huge loads of books at home. However, I also consume information in other formats as well. How did you find the idea? What is the point where you started to think about ideas? Sorry to ask you this, because I want to know why I started thinking about their idea. And let me tell you something, Harshini. Idea is the easiest thing to do. At least for me, idea is the easiest thing to do. If I can get paid for the every idea that I can put out there, no, I'll be a millionaire, billionaire only. Okay, and I'll be very happy also. Okay, but I have plenty of ideas, and there are other ideas that keep coming. So the point is how you execute it is what matters. You might have a $1 million, $1 billion idea, but it's just an idea. So it is good that you have an idea, and you have to research about the value of that idea, yes. But entrepreneurship is all about executing, how well you are executing that idea, right? So for me, starting to think about an idea doesn't really you know uh, is not really a big mark for me, right? It's how the plunge that you take to start executing that idea. I think that's where things start to get real.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think we have passed the time that we have allocated, so people may start
Yes.
going out. But it was really interesting and wonderful, wonderful session uh, that you have delivered today, especially a very interactive session with all the different questions coming from students, and I'm very happy with the kind of interactive session that transpired, and you have been able to cover a comprehensive picture. I mean, right from the uh, motivation, like you said, two important criteria is discipline and motivation, and but not only motivation from the entrepreneurial or the product based motivation, but you also said how things, personal things also motivated you to become an entrepreneur. See, these are very important and not normally discussed. I mean, you have been very open, and thanks for being a very frank, for giving us a very frank account of your entrepreneurial journey. And yeah, I mean, I also would like to say that since you mentioned that you're also interested to looking out to hire some resource persons for your educational startup, a tech startup, I would also like to ask students to take this opportunity. If you are interested, uh, to approach Miss Kumudha in this, you can always feel free to approach her and connect with her. And if she would like to take this opportunity to tell students that she's also looking out for some people to students. So if you are like kind of an internship or something like that, if some students can take up for some short period of time or some things like that, can you can work out. So if you're interested, you can approach me or Miss Kumada to explore such any kind of opportunities. So yeah, with this, I would like to really thank Ms. Kumda for making this presentation, and we look forward to have you even in the future, sometime again, if there's more opportunities to present in some other topic, and when also when you're in a, I wish you get to different scales of your business, and I'm sure your perspectives will change as and when you grow, or evolve, I would say. So I would like to hear from you again once when you grow, and would like to see you and continue our collaboration with you also, possibilities of collaboration. And with this, I think we can say goodbye with this kind note. Yeah, the game of
Yes.
entrepreneurship suited perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So thank you so much, Mr. Lohitaksh, for inviting me. It was I really enjoyed putting together the presentation, and as well as my thoughts around. Sometimes you're moving things too fast that you don't take the time to kind of reflect upon the journey. So it was a
yeah,
good opportunity for me as well. So
of
thank you
course.
for the opportunity. And as well as it was the students asked a lot of questions, so
Yeah,
I'm very happy I was able to address those questions. So thank you for engaging with me during the session, all of you. And I really, really hope to see. Do connect with me on LinkedIn and feel free to ask more questions if you have any. Yeah, I really hope to see more, entrepreneurs coming out of IIT Hyderabad and other organizations as well. And I'm happy to contribute in any way that I can. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. So I would like to ask students, if you have any more questions, you feel free to mail to Ms. Kumudha. Yeah. So since we have a stipulated time, so we'll have to stop here. So, but thank you for the very interesting and motivating, inspiring session that you delivered today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just looking to stop the recording.